You've been lying to yourself for a long time. You wake up, you put on the mask, and you play the part. You say yes to the boss you despise. You laugh at the jokes that aren't funny. You apologize for things that weren't your fault. And you do it all because you're terrified of what happens if you stop. You're terrified of the silence. See, most people think failure is a sudden crash, a loud explosion. It's not. Failure is quiet. It's the sound of a man slowly folding himself up to fit into a box that's too small for him. It's the burden of expectations. Your parents wanted a safe career. Your friends wanted a relatable companion. Your partner wanted stability. And you? You gave them everything they asked for. You became the perfect son, the perfect friend, the perfect employee. But look at the person staring back at you in the mirror tonight. Do you even recognize him? Or is he just a collection of everyone else's needs? You've spent 20, 30 years building a house for everyone else to live in, while you're outside shivering in the rain. The weight you feel in your chest isn't stress. It isn't burnout. It's the soul of the person you were supposed to be, screaming because you're burying him alive. And the worst part? You're about to do it all again tomorrow. Unless you realize that the only way to save yourself is to disappoint everyone else. You think you're in control? You're not. You're a passenger in a vehicle driven by a version of you that died 50,000 years ago. Welcome to the biological trap. See, your brain doesn't care about your 3-year plan. It doesn't care about your YouTube channel, your bank account, or your legacy. Your brain has one job: to keep you alive until tomorrow. And the easiest way to stay alive is to do absolutely nothing. To your biology, comfort equals safety. Every time you sit on that couch, every time you scroll for 3 hours, every time you choose the easy meal, your brain throws a party. It's flooding you with dopamine because you aren't out in the wild getting eaten by a tiger. You're safe. But here's the dark secret. In the modern world, safety is a slow-motion suicide. Your ancestors were predators. They had to be. If they didn't hunt, they starved. If they didn't move, they died. That fire is still inside you, but you've spent your whole life pouring cold water on it. You've traded your claws for a keyboard and your hunting grounds for a cubicle. And now that predator is bored. And a bored predator eventually starts eating itself. That's what that brain fog is. That's what that anxiety is. It's your ancient survival instincts looking for a fight that doesn't exist anymore. You aren't depressed. You're underutilized. You're a Ferrari being driven in a school zone. The trap is designed to feel good. It's warm, it's soft, and it's quiet. It's the slow decay. You won't notice you're dying because the dopamine feels too much like living. You'll wake up at 60 and realize you didn't live a life. You just successfully avoided discomfort for 6 decades. If you want to win, you have to stop listening to your feelings. Your feelings are the trap. Your feelings want you to sleep in. They want you to fit in. They want you to stay weak. The day he stopped caring was the day he looked at his own comfort and realized it was a cage. He decided that if his brain wanted safety, he would give it a war instead. There is a special kind of hell reserved for the people who almost made it. Almost is the most expensive word in the human language. It's the person who almost started the business. The athlete who almost made the cut. The creator who almost posted that video. See, failure is easy to live with. When you fail, you know the answer. You weren't good enough or the timing was wrong. You can bury failure. You can move on from it. But almost never leaves you. It sits in the back of your mind at 3 a.m. whispering, what if? What if you had worked just 1 hour longer? What if you had said no to that party? What if you hadn't let the fear of what they thought stop you? Almost is a slow poison. It's the difference between a life of I did and a life of I could have. Most people think the opposite of success is failure. It's not. The opposite of success is I almost. Look around you. The world is full of people who are 90% of the way there. They have the talent, they have the dream, but they lack the 10% of brutality required to finish. They are almost millionaires. They are almost in shape. They are almost happy. They are the greatest who never were. The price of almost is that you have to watch people with half your talent live the life you wanted, simply because they didn't flinch when it got dark. They stayed while you folded. When he stopped caring, he realized that a no was better than a maybe. A failure was better than a nearly. He decided that if he was going to lose, he would lose in the arena, not in the stands. He decided he would never pay the price of almost again. Most people are terrified of being alone. They'll stay in toxic friendships, dead-end relationships, and mindless group chats just to avoid the sound of their own thoughts. But when he finally stopped caring, he realized something. You cannot build a kingdom while you're busy entertaining peasants. Welcome to the Great Disconnect. It started quietly. He stopped explaining himself. When people asked why he wasn't coming out on Friday night, he didn't make up an excuse. He didn't say he was tired or busy. He just said, no, and then he stopped talking. See, explanations are a form of weakness. They are a plea for permission. By explaining your life to others, you're giving them a vote in your future. He decided to revoke their right to vote. He became a ghost in his own life. He deleted the apps that were selling his attention for pennies. He muted the friends who only called when they needed a favor. He stopped caring about being seen and started caring about being. People called him cold. They said he'd changed. They said he was full of himself. But the truth was much simpler. He just stopped being full of them. The Great Disconnect isn't about hate. It's about economy. You only have so many heartbeats in a day, and he was tired of wasting his on people who were committed to their own mediocrity. He realized that if you want to fly with eagles, you have to stop swimming with ducks. He traded the applause of the crowd for the silence of the lab. He traded the likes of strangers for the respect of the man in the mirror. He realized that you have to disappear for a while to see who is still looking for you when the lights go out. And usually, the answer is nobody. And that was the most liberating realization of his life. The hardest part about disappearing isn't the loneliness. It's the realization that while you were climbing, everyone else stayed exactly where you left them. Welcome to the slow decay. 6 months had passed since he stopped caring. In that time, he had rebuilt his body, his mind, and his future. He expected to look back and see a race. He expected to see people chasing him, hungry and driven. Instead, he looked back and saw a graveyard of the living. He checked in on his old circle, the ones who always talked about big moves over a third beer. They were still at the same table. They were still complaining about the same boss. They were still planning the same business that never launched. See, time is a predator. It doesn't roar, it whispers. It tells you that you have plenty of time, until suddenly you don't. While he was embracing the cold and the sweat, they were embracing the slow decay. Their ambition hadn't died in a single night. It had leaked out of them drop by drop, through every wasted hour of scrolling, every cheat day that turned into a cheat month, and every night they chose comfort over the work. They looked the same, but they were hollow. Their eyes had lost that spark of rebellion. They had become safe. He realized then that the competition isn't actually that talented. The competition is just consistent at being mediocre. Most people aren't working against you, they are working against themselves, and they are losing. He didn't feel superior. He felt a cold, sharp clarity. He realized that to stay ahead, he didn't have to be a genius. He just had to be the only one who didn't stop when it got boring. The slow decay is the default setting of the world. If you aren't actively fighting to grow, you are rotting. There is no middle ground. He closed the laptop, put on his headphones, and stepped back into the dark. He wasn't running away from them anymore. He was just running at a speed they could no longer see. Most people spend their entire lives running away from their dark side. They suppress their anger, they hide their ambition, and they pretend they don't have a monster living inside them. They think that by being harmless they are being good. But he finally realized the truth. A rabbit isn't virtuous because it doesn't fight. A rabbit doesn't fight because it can't. If you want to survive the world he was building, you can't be a rabbit. You have to be a monster, and then you have to learn how to put that monster on a leash. Welcome to mastering the shadow. He stopped trying to calm his mind and started listening to what the darkness was actually saying. It wasn't telling him to hurt people. It was telling him to stop letting people hurt him. It was the voice that told him to keep going when his lungs were burning. It was the fire that sparked when someone told him he couldn't do it. See, your shadow is where your real power lives. It's the raw, unfiltered energy of your survival instinct. When he stopped caring about being polite, he found his edge. He realized that anger, when controlled, is just fuel. Obsession, when directed, is just focus. Arrogance, when backed by results, is just confidence. He didn't become a bad man. He became a dangerous man who kept his sword sheathed. He looked at his reflection, the one that represented every bit of pain, every rejection, and every ounce of rage he'd ever felt. And instead of turning away in shame, he reached out. He shook hands with his own darkness. He realized that you don't win by killing the monster inside you. You win by becoming its master. Because when the world gets cold and the lights go out, the nice guy freezes to death. But the monster? The monster is finally home. Success has a price tag that most people aren't willing to pay. And that price isn't just hard work. It isn't just sweat. The real price of greatness is isolation. Welcome to the winter. By now, the great disconnect is complete. The phone stopped ringing months ago. The invitations to the same old parties dried up. The people who used to call you brother now talk about you in the past tense, like you're someone who died. And in a way you did. He found himself sitting in a silence so loud it made his ears ring. No one was there to clap for his small wins. No one was there to tell him, it's okay, when he felt like quitting. He had climbed so high that the air had become thin, and most of the people he knew couldn't breathe at this altitude. This is the part they don't show you in the hustle montages. They don't show you the Saturday night spent staring at a wall because you're too exhausted to move but too wired to sleep. They don't show you the birthdays spent alone because you realized your old friends were only holding you back. He started to wonder if he had made a mistake. He started to miss the slow decay. At least it was warm. At least there were voices. But then he looked at his hands. They were steady. He looked at his mind. It was a fortress. He realized that the winter isn't a punishment. It's a filter. It's the universe's way of asking, do you actually want this? Or did you just like the idea of it? The winter kills everything that isn't essential. It kills the ego. It kills the need for validation. It kills the boy so the man can lead. He stopped looking for a coat and started becoming the fire. He realized that if you can survive the silence of the winter, you can survive anything the world throws at you in the spring. He wasn't lonely. He was finally meeting himself for the first time. Eventually the winter ends. Not because the world got warmer, but because you became the sun. Welcome to the re-emergence. When he finally stepped back into the world, he didn't come back to reclaim his old spot. That spot didn't exist anymore. He had outgrown the room, the city, and the people in it. He walked past his old office, the one where he used to fold himself into a box. He saw the same people through the same glass, still staring at the same flickering screens. They looked like ghosts to him now, pale, tired, and moving in slow motion. Then he saw them. The friends who had stopped calling. They spotted him from across the street. They expected the old him, the one who needed their approval, the one who apologized for being different. They started to wave, a casual, half-hearted gesture. But then they saw his eyes. There was no anger there. No resentment. Just a terrifying, peaceful vacancy. He didn't hate them. He just didn't recognize them. They were like characters from a book he had finished reading years ago. They tried to speak, to ask, "Where have you been?" But the words died in their throats. The gap between who he was and who they had remained was now a canyon that no bridge could cross. He realized that the best revenge isn't making them jealous. It's making them irrelevant. He had spent months in the dark, mastering the shadow and surviving the cold, and now he was back. But he wasn't a member of society anymore. He was an anomaly. A man who had looked at the biological trap and walked right through it. He wasn't back to fit in. He was back to take over. In the end, he didn't find happiness. He found something much more permanent. He found purpose. Welcome to the ghost in the machine. The world is a system designed to categorize you. It wants to know your name, your rank, your tax bracket, and your weaknesses. It wants to keep you predictable so it can keep you productive. But when he stopped caring about the world's metrics, he became a glitch in their matrix. He had become a ghost. He moved through the world, but he wasn't of the world. He played the game better than anyone else, but he wasn't playing for the same prizes. While everyone else was still chasing the slow decay, or the price of almost, he was operating on a frequency they couldn't even hear. People asked him his secret. They wanted a 5-step plan or a morning routine. They wanted the shortcut. But there is no shortcut to the winter. You cannot fake the great disconnect. You can't negotiate with the shadow. He realized that the greatest power isn't owning things, it's owning yourself. He looked back at the boy he used to be, the one who apologized for his existence, the one who was crushed by the burden of expectations, and he felt a strange sense of gratitude. That boy had to die so this man could live. The machine is still running. The world is still trying to trap you in comfort, distract you with noise, and bury you in almost. But once you've walked through the fire and come out the other side, the machine has no power over you. You aren't a cog anymore. You aren't a passenger. You are the ghost in the machine. He didn't lose himself. He finally killed the person he was pretending to be. And as he stepped off the edge of the old world and into the new one, he realized the truth. The only thing more dangerous than a man who has everything is a man who needs nothing.